focus may be on Emerson Mnangagwa, playing to be precisely a retired General Chiwenga, as well as also the retired others who have spoken loudly against the Constitutional Amendment Act, which was then the Constitutional Amendment Bill. It began with Breaking Barriers initiative document that was written after Mnangagwa outsourced the services of his enemy. In my view, that is Professor Jonathan Moyo. I don't foresee these individuals actually reconciling. Greetings and welcome to your lovely channel, the Tonipani Global News. If you're watching us for the very first time, please do remember to press the red or black subscribe button so that next time when we film live, you become the very first one to watch us. Yo, I missed you guys throughout the day today, but I'm back with more and these analysis. So now I want to show you and demonstrate how Emerson Mnangagwa also betrayed individuals like Budawashe Tagwirei, who are within ZANU-PF, who are within his camp. Of late, he has actually received quite some jabs, and he appears to be a very, very and he appears to be a very, very highly disappointed man. Remember, Tagwirei has been funding this bill, the so-called Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3, which has now been signed into law. Actually, that is what is currently happening in Zimbabwe, and as well as other Ziganandas. Now, on Tagwirei, he was told that if you support this bill, in 2030, you will be the next president. I will give the reins to you. And we saw the men during the phases of campaigning for this illegal bill beginning to act like one president in Zimbabwe. And afterwards, we saw Emerson Mnangagwa creating a wedge between Budawashe Tagwirei as well as Paul Temta Tungwarara. People were actually shocked to read what was happening. Why was now Tungwarara launching attacks at Budawashe Tagwirei? It was so bad, and some even thought that actually the Budawashe, to Paul Temta Tungwarara was going to be fired. But even up to today, he still remains in ZANU-PF, being given more position and being influential in ZANU-PF as a political institution. What happened? Mnangagwa, when he was promised in Budawashe Tagwirei that he would be the next president in 2030, they will deal with the retired General Chiwenga, and the Budawashe Tagwirei, believing in that, bankrolled Emerson Mnangagwa, gave him the money, gave him the resources to undertake this campaign. And he campaigned for the 2030, speaking all sorts. And also, we heard from individuals such as Ruchendo Matiarari on how he was running parallel structures, preparing himself to take over from Emerson Mnangagwa in 2030. But now, look at what Mnangagwa is doing after signing the bill. What Mnangagwa is simply doing at the moment, they are speaking about 2037. Harare province is now speaking about Mnangagwa continuing his leadership up to 2037. We know it is a big problem to the people of Zimbabwe. Even 2030, by the way, was not endorsed, was not supported by the people of Zimbabwe. So it becomes worse, the issue of 2037. But so deep to Budawashe Tagwirei, who by that time saw himself as the president, and he became, at one point, he was no longer paying fees in our toll gates. He was now walking, he was now marching like the next president of Zimbabwe, going to ZANU-PF activities, motorcades. I can attest to you, and I've always said that you trust Emerson Mnangagwa at your own peril. If this is the man that betrayed retired General Chiwenga and other fellow retired generals in 2017, remember in 2017, Mnangagwa was reduced to a non-entity. Robert Gabriel Mugabe had fired him from ZANU-PF. He was running for his dear life. He was hiding in South Africa. And I'm sure that he was also looking for him. Robert Gabriel Mugabe was paying for the blood of Emerson Mnangagwa. It was individuals like General Chiwenga, retired General Aslam Senyache, retired General Rukeche, as well as all other, SP Moyo, who played a critical role in actually dislodging Robert Gabriel Mugabe, the most feared man during that particular period. Almost Zimbabweans had given up on fighting Robert Gabriel Mugabe, just like some of the supporters of Chiwenga are seeming to have actually given up on supporting Chiwenga. They see Emerson Mnangagwa as having gotten away with everything. But remember, in Zimbabwe, it is not a ballpoint and a paper that determines the succession matrix of ZANU-PF. If you move with that line of thought, then you have never understood the Zimbabwean politics. In a military state, not only Zimbabwe, any other military state, it is elections. If you see the sitting president winning elections through rigging, he is also managing the military matrix. Now the question is, has Mnangagwa managed to sufficiently do so? If the question is no, he hasn't managed to sufficiently do so. Why do I say he hasn't managed to sufficiently do so? Because they are retired generals, none other than retired General Chiwenga, who have spoken against Mnangagwa. You don't expect the active generals at the moment to also equally speak against Mnangagwa, because they are actually bound by the code of conduct that they are signatory to. But if you see their fellow comrades who are retired, some of them standing up and speaking against Emerson Mnangagwa, don't ever think that they are not aligned with their fellow comrades. Of course, within the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, since 2017, we have seen efforts by Emerson Mnangagwa to try and neutralize the military. But I can attest to you that he understands that there is still a lot of work to achieve 100% of his objectives. If he has actually indeed achieved 100% of his objective, he will have fired by now the one that gives him heartache as well as headache in Zimbabwe. And who is that man? It is none other than a retired General Chiwenga. Unlike Mnangagwa Tagwirei, retired General Chiwenga seems to have learned from the setbacks that he suffered previously on Emerson Mnangagwa. The moment he had, chants being made by ZANU-PF people about 2030 term extension, he quickly confronted Emerson Mnangagwa. He quickly actually, don't ever think retired. It is a misunderstanding of Zimbabwean politics to think that Chiwenga did not mobilize his allies. He has mobilized his allies. That is why Blessed Together. That is why we had Blessed Together. That is why now we have Knox Chivero. Don't expect them to be speaking at all times when it is not necessary. I know at the moment we expect the voice of Knox Chivero to be loud and clear, but remember, that voice doesn't have to actually speak at all times. It speaks when it is necessary, and it's a strategic voice. It's just like even the retired Air Marshal Mchena. He spoke after Camp 3. He showed and demonstrated the position of the retired military generals in Zimbabwe. And what more do you expect? And they showed that they reject even this act after Emerson Mnangagwa signed it. And I can attest to you confidently that even Mnangagwa himself understands that he is not yet safe. If he was safe, he would have taken drastic measures, especially against individuals like Chiwenga. Now, for Mnangagwa Tagwirei, I think other people, like if Temba Mlisa was telling the truth, that he once, in the audios that have been circulating on social media, that he once told Mnangagwa Tagwirei that Emerson Mnangagwa was bound to throw him under the bus. He appears to have been thrown under the bus. Of course, for survival, for continued survival anyway, I think it is from Blessed Geza as well as also from Knox Chivero, we have learned in detail how Tagwirei became allies with Emerson Mnangagwa. It was for protection purpose, and Mnangagwa wanted to loot Mnangagwa Tagwirei, the resources of Mnangagwa Tagwirei, and strategically use those resources to amass wealth. And I must underscore that he has successfully done that, and he is still, working on that. Watching Mnangagwa Tagwirei making recent presentations, if you notice, even his demeanor, the man no longer has confidence that we previously saw. The man seems to have been wounded. We understand that some few weeks ago he was airlifted out of Zimbabwe because he suffered a blow medically, and he had to seek. Thank God they have got money that can fly them anywhere in the world to receive the best medication to continue surviving. But you could see that the man is afraid. And even in his speech, if you listen to what he said, we want the president to know, sending messaging now to take through the Portlands, hoping that he can get into good books with Emerson Mnangagwa, who has been sliding away from him and picking up on Tungwarara. And I have explained why he opts to pick on Tungwarara, because Tungwarara doesn't care about political position. To Tungwarara, what is important, what is prioritized by Tungwarara is actually to continue looting, not to have ambitions, not to have presidential ambitions. Even if they're sold to him, he declines them. The tactic is to continue looting money and never show the man who is in charge that you are after his position. Because to be frank with you, Mnangagwa is after building his dynasty. Mnangagwa is after handing political power to either his sons or the wife of Mnangagwa. There is absolutely no politician or any business personnel or a Chikananda that Emerson Mnangagwa wants to hand over power to. He wants to hand over power to his children, the wife, and he wants to create a system whereby the presidency in Zimbabwe would be hereditary. That is what we call a monarchy in essence. How he will build it as a non-monarchy, just like the Zulu kingdom, the Nene kingdom, and other kingdoms. I don't know how he intends to do that, but we've seen concerted efforts to hijack the Munu Mutapa title. We know he has no linkages to Munu Mutapa title, but of late we've seen accounts which are trying to create fraudulent history. ZANU-PF is good in terms of actually concocting fraudulent history. Dating from the liberation struggle, there are a lot of lies that we've been told that individuals like Robert Mugabe and Mnangagwa fought during the liberation struggle. Some of their fellow ex-combatants, like the late Blessed Keza, spoke loudly and clearly that Mnangagwa was nowhere during at the height of the liberation struggle. He did not fight any war, but we are being told that he is a senior ex-combatant. There is absolutely nothing like that. And that is why he would not be stopped even from concocting a history that links him to Munu Mutapa title in an effort to steal that title. He has already stolen that title. That is why his birthday is now called Munu Mutapa Day, and it will be celebrated. It will be a public holiday. What an insult to democracy. Thank you very much for watching us. If you are watching us for the very first time, please do remember to press the red or black subscribe button so that next time when we beam live, you become the very first one to watch us. You can financially support this channel by pressing the join button. And even for our members who are the heartbeat of this channel, you can equally do so by pressing the thanks button and send us stars. Okay, Muvum Kevane is signing off. Let me love and leave you. Let's meet on the other side of the live broadcast as I give you more